Welcome, X Factory friends and family. This is Paul Sinclair with OldMan Billy, and we are here at the 2018 CRCRC Midwest Championship. We are here to walk the track.
That is the Trinity.
The Trinity.
Trinity.
Owner Curt Schlichter is telling me to make sure that's the Trinity, and indeed they do have the biggest logo on the banner. So anyway, we start as always at the start line, which is at the end of the straightaway in this nice banked corner. Would you say a staple of the Ohio RC Factory?
Yeah, it's
very
one of
common.
Curt's common practices.
not every layout, but he likes to raise up the corners, make it easier to see from the driver's stand, and just a nice solid bank. And it's banked all the way up, like from the it's a constant angle from the bottom to the top. So there's no flat spot on the inside. There's no top area you can fall
there's
off
a little
on.
crown about midway up. You have to watch going in. If you're above the crown, the car really loads up and goes to the tube. If you're on the bottom, it nice and flows.
So it dumps you straight into this pretty high-speed chicane, given all that speed you're carrying off the straightaway through that bank. There's a little bit of a bank out here where I'm standing. However, everyone's running real close, of course, to the inside apex here.
Right.
It gets a little tight, especially from the driver's stand. It just looks tight. But I haven't seen a whole lot of problems over here from most of the drivers.
The car actually kind of squares up and goes through real nice.
Right. I am going to be interested to see how the races start.
Right.
Leading through the bank into the chicane.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Right. So anyway, then it's a straight shot here down into a tight left-hand 180, and this 180 is it starts. I guess the whole thing is pretty much off camber.
Right.
It enters off camber, and you cars just want to slide down and away from the apex. So it really is you carry a lot of speed off the straightaway and through the chicane, and then you really have to slow down and stay super tight in this bottom left-hand corner and deal with the off-camber. So out of our off-camber tight left-hand 180, we have almost like a tabletop feature. The off-camber leads into a raised little bump. No problems. Not really a feature to note.
No.
But what is to note is that this may be one of the biggest dividers between the quote-unquote fast guys and the slow guys.
Right.
And that is this double roller after our slow corner.
Right.
So you're really trying to come off this mound and build up speed, and you're hit with these two rollers. As you can see, they're just very rounded on the top. There's no real lip. There's no real lip at the top, especially this first one, to take off from.
Right, it doesn't give you any pop.
And the second one is almost bigger than the first one is. Right. And so the if I may call them the average Joe racer, is just singling through here. All the stock guys single through there. But maybe the top 20% of the modified drivers are able to really manipulate their throttle and get that spring off the jump face, off the lip, what lip there is, or that first roller, and clear the double rollers.
The only way that I've found to get through it and clear that is to get the car down in the hole to get the drive out. If you drive out of the corner normal, you fall in the hole and lose all your forward momentum.
Yeah, you just launch off what I refer to as that little tabletop, and then you just slam into the face and you don't get any pop.
There's no lift.
But if you check up a little bit and then you drive down that hill,
you
can double out. That's a really good observation. And you can also see the carnage here that this second roller has wrecked.
Yes.
There are a lot of bumpers are earning their pay.
Ton of chassis slapping through this area.
Right. And the guys who are trying to double these two rollers, when they get it wrong, they just go flying. And you can see in the track here between Billy and I, there is just
Divot City.
All kind of divots and gouges. Yep. So, assuming we are a fast driver, of course, we've cleared our double rollers here. We just have a right turn. We hope this is a pretty high speed section for an infield.
High bite. Car stays right where it needs to be.
And we clear this double here in the middle, which might be the most. I don't know. This is the most prominent feature of the track. When you walk in, this is what you see.
You see this, and it's not a high speed double. It's actually just kind of a floater.
Right. It's real easy to overjump this.
But you have to get the car back down on the downside to get your speed up for this 180.
Right. So following our double here again, there's not a whole lot to say. It's pretty easy. The stock guys, mod guys, no one's really struggling with it unless they're wrecked beforehand.
Right.
is an interesting, a low-key but very interesting feature of the track to me, and that is this big sweeping on-power corner. So it's almost 180 degrees all the way around this corner, and it is just full wood as fast as you can go while you're turning.
Yep.
And you can see the difference between cars. You can see a lot of difference between setups as they, as the guys are powering through here. And some guys are really like taking this double jump wide and setting up wide and kind of apexing like a real traditional racing line corner.
Right.
And other guys are coming in real narrow off this double, and they're just able to hold the line against this inside tube. Yep. So it's kind of a real dicey. You see a lot of passing or a lot of setups in this on power corner.
And right at the beginning of the apex, you see how shiny the track is. I mean, there's so much compound, so much traction right there.
Right.
Everybody's getting
That's
back
where the
on
lines
the
are
power.
coming together. The guys who are outside, the guys who are inside, they're all coming together right there and laying down rubber.
I mean, if you're going to roll through this corner, you're
losing
past
so much time. Right. You got to be on power. I've seen a lot of sway bars on setups, even on two-wheel drive cars, and I actually think that this corner is a lot of that reason. The end of the straight being a nice banked high speed is another good use of the sway bar. Anyway, so this on-power 180 leads you into these two bigger rollers. No one, these are obviously not jumps. No one's trying to do anything with these. But they are trickier than they might appear to our camera lens, just because they're kind of off-angle to each other.
Right.
So there's really a very straight line through here. It's not even all that tricky. You hug the tube as much as you can.
Right.
And as I walk, it's just a straight line. But because the first hill here, back on the first hill, is angled away from me, and then the second hill is angled kind of toward me, like it really can throw the cars for a loop. And you see guys getting all kind of out of shape here. I think this where you can drive through it just fine, but if you're trying to push to make up that extra tenth of a second or catch that guy in front of you, it's really easy to get your car upset here.
And the face of this is off. I mean, there's a bulge in the middle.
Right,
Divots on the one side. And the outside
there's a definite bulge right where I'm
decent.
walking here. Yep. And kind of a little lower over here and a little lower on the inside as well. You can see kind of a gouge here.
So depending upon how the car hits it, it sets you up.
Right. It's really working the suspension a lot because, the better suspensions, you can come off the first one, get your car settled, hit the second one, and no big deal.
Right.
But if your car's still upset
you're
or still
wishy-washy,
flipping,
you're going backwards.
So anyway, this second roller leads us into another tight left-hander, working that right side tire.
Yeah.
Billy called me early in the week and said, man, I need more rights than lefts this week.
Yep, you definitely burned the right rear off the car.
So another tight left 180, and that takes us into the triple jump, maybe the feature jump of the track.
Yes. So here we are at the bottom of the first part of the triple. It's a good 4 foot. Paul's now on top of it. So there's quite a bit of elevation change, and it's fast. You drive into it hard, but not too hard because you can over jump it. So it's quarter to half throttle, blip out of it, let the car fly.
Okay. One of the interesting comments I heard from Jared Tebow today was that this triple is almost oddly placed. Those weren't his words, but what he said is like usually they're either further away, and so you run up to the triple and then slow down and clear it, or the triple's right out of the corner, so you come out around the corner and then just punch it and clear the triple. He said this one it just feels odd in terms of timing because you got to come out of the corner, accelerate, but then get on the brakes right away so that you don't over jump it. And with this much surface to run up, I mean a good 10 foot just in the jump face itself, it is really easy. Even though it's a big long triple, it is super easy to send the car and just go flying all the way past the ending. So here we are at the end of the triple, and I just talked about how easy it is to over jump the triple, of course. And I mean, people, I think JP Richards even mentioned to me that he thought about motoring down for this track just because of how easy it was to over jump this thing. But of course, because everyone's trying to jump it perfectly, we have 8 million divots. Replace your dirt, please.
Yep.
Here on the landing. The other thing about this triple that makes it pretty hard is that this landing zone is very flat. There's not a lot of downside to the jump, and it's very short, and it throws you right into a hard 90-degree left-hand corner. So you build up all this speed on the jump, and you're trying to carry your speed in the air and jump nice and flat and get the car touched down. So we've built up all this speed, and we cleared a pretty good-sized triple, 15, 20 feet?
Every bit of 20 foot.
Yeah, and then we got to slow it all right down so we don't flip off the track here. You can see all the divots and wheel nut marks and everything else, rim divots
hard on the brakes
hard on the brakes, and into what is, for the rest of the layout, a fairly simple switchback.
Right.
Like, we turned left, a hard right-hand corner, easy. We just keep it as tight and as close to the tube as we can without hitting it.
Actually get up on the curb and
yeah, the curb is where you want that right front tire for sure. And then we shoot into this kind of elevated left-hand corner.
Grab a handful, the car goes right up where you need it to be. Just stay tight.
Stay tight, but not on the tube.
Right. Yep.
So after our kind of elevated hip corner, we fall off. No real problems here. Everyone's just on power.
Yep.
Shooting the hardest section of the track here. We hit this little roller, and then we hit a corner hip jump that just causes havoc with your perception and with your question of what is going on with your driving ability. Yep. We have seen everyone from H mains down to A mains flipping and wrecking through this section. And really, it's easier than it looked. But since it's so far from the driver's stand, it's really hard to see. And it looks like a really, really devious chicane. There is a straight line through it. But the problem is, after you clear this little double, you have what is almost a vert ramp getting onto the straightaway. Right. This single roller throws your car straight up in the air, and a lot of guys struggle to get their cars and their vehicles lined up to put power on down that straightaway. So after we've cleared this double in the corner, you can see there is a straight line path onto that straightaway. But kind of part of the problem is that our little kicker jump before the straightaway is lined up square to the track and not leading onto the straightaway. So you have the option of either hitting the kicker straight, which keeps your car under control but jumps into the tube.
Correct.
Or you come off the kicker angled to get onto the straightaway, but now your car comes off a little funky, and as you're trying to put down power, everything's trying to settle out, and you're trying to deal with the car and get things settled. So this is really this upper right corner is really just a struggle for a lot of guys, from pros to novices, and it's making or breaking a lot of races. Mm-hmm. Just in fact, in the round 4 four-wheel drive A main, Joe Bornhorst was leading, on TQ pace, and with like a lap to go, he stuffed it here on the left side, getting on the straightaway. I don't mean to single him out because everybody's wrecked here, but that's just an example of how much it can make or break your race. So down the straightaway and into the banked corner, and that's a lap around the Ohio RC factory.